Hi, my name is Damien Pony. I am a student at Barnet Southgate College undertaking the Level 3 Creative Media course. Today I'll be covering my FMP and what went into it and how I managed to achieve my end goal, which was creating a music video for one of my friends, which is also a music artist. So the first thing I'll be looking over is the FMP proposal, which is a document where I break down what my what my aims for this project are, what I would like to do, and how I would like to achieve them. So, in the first section of the FMP proposal, I just briefly break down what I have learned throughout the year. So, these are practical skills just as well as extra knowledge. Um, in the second section is the project concept, which sort of breaks down what I wanted to create for the final major project. Initially, I wanted to create quite a few things, which were the music video, a promotional video, and a cover art. However, due to lack of time and some other issues I encountered during the FMP, I only managed to create the music video. However, I did make the amendments to my proposal so that it would match what I have done. The third section is the evaluation. It sort of just goes through how I will be managing my time and how I'll be going about doing everything in my FMP. The last section is just for Harvard referencing and any links I've sort of used and anything that's helped me throughout the FMP. So any online tutorials. And finally, I have the schedule, which is a very important document as it's something that allows you to manage your time very well and gives you an idea of what you should be doing every single day. The next thing I will be looking at is the context. So the first thing I want to look at in depth is the schedule. So here is the schedule I created for my final major project. Um, it breaks down every single day and week. I have set myself a task for each of those days, saying what I would like to do and what I would like to have complete by those days. So as you scroll down, I have set myself something for every single day from the beginning until the end of the FMP. The next thing I'm going to be looking at is my pitch. See, the pitch is very important as it's a more in-depth overview of your final major project. So it sort of gives the viewer or anyone looking into your project a greater understanding of what your aims are with this project. So here I just briefly go over the artist profile, explain who the artist is, his background, hobbies, etc., etc. The next slide is the concept, which is quite similar to the project concept, the proposal concept, so I won't be going over that too much. Here I've got some hooks and themes, which are relaxing, psychedelic, vibrant colors, animation. These are the type of visuals I was aiming to get in the end with my music video. Here I briefly go over my schedule, just sort of explain how it helps and how it helps you cope with your FMP and manage your time well. Here's the primary target audience. This is what I found out by carrying out my primary target audience research. So my target audience for this project was the age group of people between 14 and 23 years old. Um, the research that I carried out can support my statement of that these are the best ages for what I am creating. The next is secondary target audience, which is something that I just looked into. I did some research on Google, and the best target audience is Generation Z, which are people born in the late 90s and early 2000s, which are most likely to be college and university students. The reason I decided to go for this age group is I believe with this type of music and the type of music video I was aiming for, that would be the best age group. I feel like that's what they would enjoy the most. Moving on, here I have some similar productions which I gained inspiration from. So the first one is I Know You by Lil Skies and Young Pinch. Some of the things that I really admired in that video, the shape masks and keyframing that they used, I found really just inspiring, I guess you could say. Um, what I mean by that is an example could be the artist at one point just sort of stops and flies away and is sort of, carrying on whatever he was doing, but in another part of the screen where he clearly doesn't belong. But the way they've done it looks really well. The transitions they used also fit the song perfectly. So, second production is Catch Me Outside by Ski Master Slump God. What I really like about this video is like throughout the video, we see slight bits and pieces of animation, and I think that's what I admire most about this video is the animation and the cartoon styled bits and bobs. And the last one is by ASAP Mob, and it is Lamborghini High. So this music video is sort of like the visual effect I was aiming to get, which is like a psychedelic type effect, just a lot of colors, shapes, everything slightly out of place, maybe a bit fuzzy, distorted, etc., etc. So yeah, moving on. This is my target audience profile. This is something I created based on my target audience research. Um, so the psychographic for my age group, most popular psychographic for my age group are the Explorer and Reformer. Um, it's aimed for both females and males aged anywhere between 14 to 25. Mainly for people who have a creative mindset and are open-minded to experience new things. Moving on, here I just briefly go over the equipment I'm going to be using. So to shoot, I used my Canon 800D camera and a filming rig, which I bought. However, I did have a 4K camera, which I rented out from college as a backup in case I wasn't happy with my camera, since it is a DSLR and the focus can mess up sometimes. I also used a Rode mic to allow me to pick up audio in better quality, so when editing, lip syncing is easier. I also had a camera stabilizer, which I didn't use, however, it was nice to have just as a backup plan. And finally, I had a small LED light, which I mounted on top of my camera just for a slight bit of extra lighting, as some locations we were filming at were the lighting was slightly off. So these are just some findings that I had from my surveys that I sent out. This is regarding my target audience. Um, just make this bigger. So it's quite small. However, the m most popular finding that I had in regards to my question of the age of my viewers was out of 19 people, 18 of them said they were between the age of 16 and 19, and one person said they were between the age of 20 to 23, hence why I've decided to at a slightly lower age, so I decided to go from 14 to 23. Um, the gender is the most dominant gender in this situation is female. However, there is also a 21.1% female viewer, I guess. I did have two slightly silly answers from someone who answered my questionnaire. However, there's nothing I can unfortunately do about that. So the psychographic category, which was most popular in terms of these findings, were the Explorer and Aspirer, with the Succeeder just behind them with one less response. The NRS demographic that everyone believes they fit into the best are A and C1. Oh, actually, sorry, it's B and C1 with A and C2 slightly just behind with both 4 answers rather than 5 and 7. The next question I asked, the last question I asked was which social media platforms do my clients find themselves using the most? The reason I asked this was I aim to create a promotional music video, and with this information, I would be able to promote the music video in the right place, so it can get the best recognition and largest recognition that it can. And the final question was about the music apps that my viewers use. So the most popular was Spotify. Um, SoundCloud was the most popular right after Spotify. So those are the two music platforms, sorry, that I will be aiming to upload the music to. Okay, next is this is my primary research. This is essentially what I've been going through for the past 2, 3 slides, so I won't be going too in depth in this. However, I created a budget, which is something that didn't really help create my FMP. However, it did help me inform what the costs and timings of a real shoot like this would be with, like an outside client that's just been in contact with you. So it gives me an understanding of what the real industry prices are. Here I've just created a mood board of things that I feel like I really wanted to include in this music video, as I believe that they really go well with the type of song that I was recording the video for. So the visual research was very important for me since I was creating a music video which is based around the visuals. So this is something that I paid attention to and took a lot of care when creating it. So these are two locations I was filming at, which is Barbican Estate and Southgate. It's a park. Well, it's Priory Hospital right beside the park. However, we were filming on the premises of the park with just the building in the background. Okay, so that's it for the FMP pitch. The next thing I will show you is the reflective journal. It is an evaluation and reflection. Just there. See, the reflective journal was a really big part of my FMP. When I first started off, I did fall quite far behind on the reflective journal as it was just something I forgot to do. But then I slowly began catching up and keeping on track with my reflective journal for every day that I was in college. Um, this was really helpful as it sort of just helps you reflect on your work and maybe see any mistakes that you've made. This is good because you can sort of avoid making the same mistakes in the future. So if I, for example, look over someday and I just see what I've done, and then I realize that I made a mistake and I encounter a similar mistake in the future, I can look back over my reflective journal to see how I solved that given issue. Um, so yeah, this is just my brief overview of my reflective journal. It's not too long as I did miss quite a few days. However, I did include some screenshots and paragraphs just to go over everything fully. Okay, the next thing I will be going over is my research. So it will be the research report, which is just in the research folder. And in the second row, the FMP research report, just here, very easy access. So this document isn't too long. It's okay, still loading. It's 19 pages long, which is I believe a decent amount as I did cover everything I needed to cover. So here's a small checklist of what I have done. Everything in green is what I have completed within this research report. So the first thing was the introduction, which is again quite similar to the FMP proposal project concept. It sort of just goes over what I will be doing throughout my FMP. However, this introduction does also go into more detail on how I will be achieving it. So, for example, I mentioned that I want to make the video consist of slower cuts and animations alongside some transitions. And so the animation, by animation I mean more of a drawing effect on the music video. And how I will be achieving that is once the video has been completely edited in Final Cut Pro, I'll render it out and put it into Adobe After Effects and then add the effect. So here we just have a screenshot of my workflow. Um, yeah, so this is the workflow I created for the FMP. It sort of just allowed me to organize my time well, very similar to the schedule. It sort of allowed me to keep track of time. Like, so the first thing on here is the schedule and then the workflow. So once those two were complete, I knew the next thing I had to do, not necessarily had to do, but the next best thing for me to create was the proposal. Right after that, the primary research, and so on and so on. It sort of just gives you an idea of what you should be doing day by day and which pieces of work should be complete first, etc., etc. So that is a very helpful document. This the this is just the primary research techniques I used, in order to find out. So here are just some screenshots of my findings from my questionnaires that I sent out regarding my target audience. Very similar to the pitch. However, here for each screenshot, each question, I've sort of written a paragraph breaking down and analyzing what I have learned from each finding of each question and how it's helped me develop my final major project. So if you carry on scrolling down, you'll eventually get to the secondary research techniques, which is which is again a very helpful piece of work, obviously, when it comes to the final major project, as it did inform me and help me develop this project a lot. So one of the first things I looked at in terms of secondary research was Google Trends. So what I searched in Google Trends was rap music video, and I checked the activity monthly and yearly and realized that, and learn what time of year and what time of month is best to, upload a rap music video and give it the best chance at gaining the recognition that it could. Um, Later on, for some secondary research, I did go on a few websites such as Link Up TV, GRM Daily, and Official Charts. The reason I went on these websites is to research how I could upload this music video into larger platforms, so you know it can get a good amount of views. I did consider the artist releasing it on his own channel. However, that's very hard to sort of push if you don't have a large following. He is just an upcoming artist and a college student. Therefore, I thought it would be better to upload the first one or two songs onto a larger platform to gain a slightly larger following, and then begin uploading on his own channel. Um, I also looked at official charts, just at similar artists or artists I believe were similar to the artists I'm working with, just see what labels they're getting signed with, how their music's popular, when it is popular, etc., etc. Um, this is some of my contextual research. This is just a quick spider diagram I drew out and sort of just went over what goes into my contextual research, and I sort of broke it down on the things I could be looking into and including in my final major project. Okay, so this is the visual research. This is a very big part of my for FMP, as I am creating a music video which is based around visuals. So the first screenshots here are from our noir film, which is during the first week of the FMP. We were put into groups and had to create a noir film within a week. So here are some screenshots of the research I did. I feel like the how this helped me throughout my FMP is I got a greater understanding of what angles to use at what scenes, and how to use any type of lighting to my own advantage. Here I've just got a screenshot of my mood board. It's slightly misplaced. However, that's just due to changing the size of the screen I'm working on. However, that's not to worry about. So this is just a screenshot of my mood board and slightly just going over what my mood board consists of, why I created it, and how it's helped me. And then if you scroll down, again, the similar productions I just went over in the pitch, so I won't be going over them. Here I have an influential cinematographer, which is the owner of the label Lyrical Lemonade. His name's Cole Bennett. He is the owner of Lyrical Lemonade, which is a YouTube channel with almost 10 million views. He specializes in creating visuals for, just for music artists that approach him. He's worked with quite a few artists such as YBN Cordae, Lil Skies, Future, etc., etc. So some fairly big artists. The reason I really like how he works is it's just the style of editing that he uses with sort of like the distortion effect, the colors, the shapes, everything's sort of like trippy, which is the music video type of music videos I'm aiming for, the artist I'm working with, because I believe that is what suits it the most. So here's just another example of what he's created and slightly just going over it. Here I just briefly go over the test shots I carried out and how they helped. Here is an online tutorial that I used. So this online tutorial was for speed ramping, as this is something I wanted to include in the music video. And so I went out onto YouTube, watched some online tutorials on how to do it. Did experience some issues at first when trying it myself. However, I learned how to do it quite quickly and applied it to the music video. So here's the production research. It's just this is a screenshot of my budget, sort of just going over what my budget is and how it sort of informed my FMP and in some ways helped me develop it. So here I just went over the pre-production, so the pre-production paperwork, such as the recce reports, call sheets, and risk assessments. These are crucial documents that I had to have before being able to go out and film, and so I did. If we carry on scrolling down, this is the last part of my research report, which is the evaluation and audience feedback. So the first paragraph here is to do with the tutor feedback. So unfortunately, I don't have any screenshots or any written feedback from my tutor. However, after speaking to her, she sort of just informed me on what she thought I could change in my final music video, which most of the most of the feedback was positive. There was just a few slight things that she believed I could change, and so I did. So the first thing was the lip syncing. Due to something I did, about probably 30 minutes before getting the feedback, I didn't realize that the lip syncing had slightly gone off by around half a second, and then when playing it back, I realized this wasn't a problem. This is something I changed almost instantly. Wasn't very hard to change. Um, and also the other thing that my teacher said I could have changed is the B-roll I used at the beginning of the video in the church. She said that some of the shots were cut off too early as they were really good, so she believed that I should have showed them off more. The next thing I have here is a screenshot of a message that I was sent by the artist after he had seen the final product. And yeah, here this is my questionnaire that I sent out to do with my final project. Um, yeah, so once the final music video was created and ready to be seen by people, I created a questionnaire, put the link into the music video, asked everyone to watch it, and just asked a few simple questions to do with the overall outcome of the music video. And the way this has helped me is it sort of informed me on what I've done well and what I could have changed, and if I do undertake a similar project in the future, what I could do differently to achieve an even better outcome. And then if you carry on scrolling down, there's just some more screenshots from the same questionnaires, me briefly going over how they informed me, and lastly, the conclusion, just sort of just an overall conclusion of the research report and my FMP in total. Um, just me stating what I believe went well and what I could have done better and what I will do in the future. And at the very end, you just have a bibliography with all of the links and Harvard referencing that I did use throughout the FMP. There isn't much, however, there are 4 links which I did include. So, yeah, that's that. The next thing I'm going to be looking at is the problem solving, which is just back into the FMP folder, and in the problem solving log folder, the problem solving log is the document we are looking for. So with the problem solving log, there isn't too much to cover. It's as simple as a problem solving log that I created. So there's 2 different types of problems in here. So the first one are I believe the potential problems. Yeah, so they're the potential problems that I could encounter during my FMP. So some examples, like issues to do with the equipment, techniques of filming, storage, power, etc., etc. And I sort of just broke down what the issue would be and how I would solve it if I did encounter this issue. And if you carry on scrolling down a bit more, you'll get to the actual problems which I encountered. They all have a day briefly explaining what the issue was, and just on the right, me explaining what I did in order to solve this issue to be able to carry on with my work. Okay, so there's not too much to the problem solving log. However, that's a brief overview of it. The next thing will be the planning and production, which is again just back inside the FMP folder, plan and production folder, and everything you are looking for is in here. So this is the first thing. Well, actually, there is my budget just here, but however, I've gone over the budget again, so I won't be doing that. So the first thing I will be going over is the call sheet, which is, here in the top, got a breakdown of everything, production office, name of the production, have my logo and the location we're filming at, all the information that is needed on a call sheet, the people that will be available at the shoot, when we're shooting, the timings, etc., etc., the production, so who will be in charge of what. Since I was working alone, I am in charge of everything, hence why my name is everywhere. And yeah, so there's not too much to the call sheet there. I have 2 call sheets for each location I was filming at. This is also a location recce. I have 2 of these for each location. This is just sort of a breakdown of the locations that we will be filming at and anything around them. So at the beginning, some standard information, location, the purpose of the shoot, the title, who the document was created by and when it was created. So the first thing you see are some screenshots of the location that I found on Google. This is where I wanted to film and where we did film. So here are some potential camera positions. So that's a low angle long shot. This is a bird's eye view shot. And down here, if you just scroll to the very bottom, you've got just some basic information about, for example, the availability and timings of the location we're filming, whether there are any toilets around, whether I will be having any access to electricity, any if there's any under 18s present at the shoot, etc., etc. So, sort of just a breakdown of what will be going on during the shoot and anything we might need to know so about our surroundings, the people at the shoot, and so on and so on. And the final thing is the risk assessment, which is just at the end. So with the risk assessment, this is a fairly long document, but it sort of just basically goes over everything that could be a potential hazard to myself and all the crew. So if you go here, there is, just a table, sort of just tells you there's some hazards, and you just have to say whether they are present. If so, how severe are they? How likely it is for the hazard to genuinely occur, and the risk factor. And how you would work out the risk factor is by scrolling down and looking at the likelihood and the severity, and you work out a number of the risk factor. If you carry on scrolling down, just some tables of a slightly more in-depth explanation of each risk. So there's just a table with the risk number, risk factor on it. You describe it, explain who is exposed to the hazard, and what actions you will be taking in order to avoid them, and if they do happen, what you will be doing to make sure everything goes smoothly. Okay, and this is also my shot list, something I created. So this was a very, very helpful document when it came to going out and shooting. Um, I found that in previous projects, without a shot list, I'd go out and shoot, but not really be too sure of what I am shooting. Whereas with a shot list, you go out and you sort of have a list of the shots that you want to achieve. So you go in there knowing, right, I'm gonna, shoot this, this, and that. I want to have this shot with this angle, this type of lighting, etc., etc. So this is a very, very helpful document. Okay, so the next thing will be the evaluation, which is, again, just go back to the FMP folder, evaluation and reflection, and the final evaluation. And this is, obviously, this is a document I created after the whole FMP had been completed. So in the introduction, it was just a short overview of what my intentions for this FMP were, and sort of how I was going to achieve them, and whether I did manage to achieve them. Right under the introduction is the context. Oh, sorry for that. It's not scrolling down. Okay, is the context. So the context sort of just covers everything. It's almost like the pitch. So it's sort of just a breakdown of everything, of what you did. So what documents you created, what research you carried out, and why you did that, and how it helped you inform and develop your final major project. Further down is the research, so it's sort of just a breakdown of essentially what I did within my research report, and again how it informed and allowed me to develop my final major project. The problem solving, same sort of, it's just an explanation. So the final evaluation is sort of just broken down into, I believe, 7 or 8 points, and you sort of just go through it explaining what you did, how you did it, and what the aim was, and how it helped you inform and develop your FMP. So just below the problem solving, you have the planning and production, the practical skills, which is something I will be showing you at the end, as I will be showing you a slight, I'd say 10 to 15-second bit of the music video I created, which is on my Wix website. And yeah, so this is just the evaluation of sort of the project as you were going along. So sort of just looking at the reflective journal and how it helped me personally get through the FMP, and how it benefited me just by having that document. And finally is the conclusion, so it's just an overall conclusion of the FMP, whether it was a success, whether I achieved what I wanted to achieve, and whether I was happy, if there was anything that I would do again, what is it, how I would do it again, and why. And if there's stuff that I was happy with and wanted to do in the future, I'd sort of explain also why, what it is, and what appealed to me so much about it. So for the documents, that is all. However, I will just show you my website really briefly. So for the Wix website, you'll go into my FMP folder. Oh, actually, sorry. You go into my folder, which is Damien Polney L3, and you have two folders, the FMP and the year one folder. And just underneath you have a Word document, which you can open, which contains my Wix linked website. I've already got it opened here just to avoid waiting. So after clicking on that, you will be taken to my website, which is just here. You know, at the top, you have a very standard menu bar. With on the right, you have a social bar. If you scroll down, you just have two pictures which I took out in central London by Waterloo Station and London Bridge. So the first thing on the menu bar is the 72-hour challenge. So this sort of just has a few screenshots. So it's the 72-hour challenge was broken down into three stages, which was the production paperwork, filming, and editing. So I have three screenshots for each and a very brief paragraph of sort of just explaining what went on during that day, since we did only have 3 days to complete it, hence the name 72-hour challenge. So with each stage, I have a very brief paragraph, sort of just going over everything that happened during that day. So the stage one was the production paperwork, which we all completed as a group. The second stage was actually going out and filming, which was done on the second day. After completing all the research, you know, we found the locations we wanted to film at, we went out to them with the actors we could find and began filming. One of the locations was outside of college. However, it wasn't too far. It was about 15 minutes away from our college. And the second location was inside the college, which was the green screen room, sorry. And finally, the stage three is the editing. So the editing process, we had 1 day to put the entire film together from scratch, which wasn't too challenging since it wasn't too long. It was around 3.5 to 4 minutes long, maybe. However, I feel like a lot of people did feel the pressure simply because, you know, it's in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I've only got 3 days to complete a whole project. But yeah. So the next tab is the music video. So the first thing you'll see is the video I created on the history of music videos. If you scroll down a bit, you'll see the final product, which is called Spirits and Potions. So this is also a song and music video I created for the artist I'm currently working with for my final major project. The reason I decided to work with this artist again is because I felt like when we were working together, everything flows very well. We get along, we have the same type of ideas, we think on the same level. So I feel like we could really work well together. Therefore, I decided to reach out to him again for my final major project. The next thing is the FMP. So when you come onto the FMP, the first thing you will see is the final product, which is called Understand by Young Fetty. So I will play you a very short introduction scene. They don't understand. They don't understand me. They don't understand. They don't understand me. They don't understand. I won't let them understand me. Cold nights. So there you go. There's an idea of that gives you an idea of sort of the edit that I've gone for and the visuals. It sort of also does show some of the things I mentioned. So, for example, the speed ramping tutorial, you could see some of that just at the beginning. So that did come in handy. If you scroll down, you have three focus groups I carried out um, before I began filming and stuff. So this was just sort of focus groups I carried out with my target audience to gain a greater understanding of what they want to see and what they expect from me as a media producer when creating the music video. And finally, just under the focus groups, it isn't here just yet, but will be the this presentation I'm currently recording will be in a grey tab underneath, available on the website. So that's all for the FMP. I hope I allowed you to understand what my FMP was and how I went about it.